everybody. Welcome to another episode of After 30 with Cara Eriguel. How does it really feel like to be cheated on by someone you loved and trusted? This is a topic I never would have imagined talking about a decade ago. Wow, I just realized how old it made me sound. As someone who my friends then joked about that I had a sign on my forehead that probably said available for cheating, let me start by saying I will try my very best to have this conversation with as little judgment and bias as I can, but I can't promise you zero slip ups. Now that I'm married, I still honestly feel traces of the pain and trauma that being cheated on has left me. Come to think of it, I have never had a conversation with someone who experienced the same thing. I've talked about the experience even on the podcast, one too many times, in fact. And I'm quite excited to talk about with someone who was really in it too for the first time today. Let's talk about cheating, how it really feels to be the cheatee, so to speak, and how do you get over it? With former radio DJ, TV and events host, and ESPN Sports Center anchor, wow, and an old friend, Aaron Atayde, everybody.
Wow, that was quite an
Hi.
introduction. You should go into hosting or something like that. That was really good.
Thinking about it. Thank you. Thank you. How
Oh,
have you
good.
been, Aaron?
See, there you go. That's we've been friends with each other so long. Our first question is the same question. I've been fantastic. I've been living in Connecticut now for exactly a year. Like this is my 1 year anniversary. It was the 28th of May when I landed in New York in JFK, and it's been one trip around the sun, and a lot has happened. I've learned so much. I've spent an exorbitant amount of time by myself, and I've gotten to know myself better than ever before. How have you been?
That's wonderful. Wow, how have I been? Great. Married
Parang
now.
loaded yung question. Parang
Alam ko nga,
bigat ah.
loaded. Bakit parang ang hirap? Ang hirap. Ewan ko bilang isang taong pinag-iisipang maging host, no? Hindi.
Oo.
Because I love asking that question, right? It's
Mhm.
natural for us to ask that question as
Yeah.
hosts. But when
It's
you're
empathetic.
asked that question, parang ang heavy sagutin.
Yes, because you don't know how far you're supposed to answer that. Like I always thought that the answer of how are you or how have you been or kamusta ka na, the answer always depends on how close you are to that person. Because when somebody who's your acquaintance, like I've felt it so much, especially here in the States. You've been to the States, right?
I've never.
You've never been to the States. Okay,
I've
so
never
the
been
one
to the
thing
States.
that everyone that has gone to the States knows that if you pass by somebody, they will always say, "Hi, how you doing?" Like that is a given.
The
Like if
culture
you're
there.
that's a
Okay.
culture, and they're asking it, and they don't care. They don't care about your answer or anything like that. They're just polite. So that really taught me that the answer to "Hey, how you doing?" really depends on how close you are to that person, because it's different when like your best friend asks you, "How are you doing?" as compared to
Mhm.
somebody that you're walking across the street. So when I ask you how are you doing, it's a great way to measure how close you are to a person.
That makes a lot of sense. But what if, for example, like now you're an old friend, right? And
Uh-huh.
like we asked the same question to each other before going on air. I mean, on record. But what if I'm talking to a close friend, pero naka-record ako with everybody else listening?
Ano, di yung acquaintance yung mga nakikinig. Yun yung mga
Ayan. Okay,
acquaintance.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. So, buti na lang di ko sinagot kasi baka marami ako.
Mismo. Mga marami kang masabi. Mamaya na lang, pagtapos na to.
Okay, I'm great. I'm great. I've been great. Thank you so much for asking. Thank you so much for making time. I know you're
Of
busy. I
course.
know it is pretty late now
Mm-hmm.
where you are. And I'm really so excited to have this conversation with you. We were talking about this off the record as well, because you are in the States, you're not in the Philippines, but I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure you still see stuff on social media about what's going on. There's people cheating in marriages and in relationships. And I really just want to talk about that
Okay.
because I know you've been through it too.
Yes. I've
But
been
I want to
through it.
start with
Yes.
were you just on the receiving end or did you also do it?
Cheat.
Yeah.
Okay. I was cheated on by majority of my girlfriends, and I don't want to say that I didn't cheat because it would be disrespectful to our relationship if I didn't. If I did say it, if I did say that I didn't cheat, but when the relationship that we had was already in its twilight, and I know it doesn't excuse anything that I did, but it was in the twilight. It was towards the end, and it was um it was a mistake that was made, and I apologized for that. And even if it was towards the end, it does not give me the right to do something like that, to ruin someone's trust in you.
No, I get that completely. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for answering that as honestly
Yeah,
as
yeah.
possible.
I mean, us here in the podcast world, if we hide anything from anyone, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's what we're here. That's what
That's
we
true.
do this for, right? I mean, we're trying to be as vulnerable as possible. And it's the only way to be vulnerable is to be truthful. And that's why I have a
Exactly.
whiskey in my hand, you know.
I love that. Drink more. Siguro
Yes.
mga third glass mo, I'll ask you the heavier
Ooh,
questions.
ask them again. Like, and we'll see if
Ask
I
them
feel like
again.
mas we're closer. Diba? We'll see if we're closer
Sige,
again.
sige. Noted, I will. Okay. But first of all, okay, what is cheating and what constitutes as cheating for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because there are two kinds of cheating. And I think that this is something that a lot of people um, tend to combine the two together, but they're really not. I'm not saying that one is worse than the other because that is subjective to who you are. That is subjective to what you believe in. But there's a physical cheating and then there's an emotional cheating. It's kind of like um, when you're with someone and you get the companionship that you wish that you got from your partner from someone else, that would be emotional cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is physical cheating, which is of the, I guess, to put it in a different perspective, if you cheat on somebody and your love language is touch, then that would probably be physical cheating. If
You
you
can
cheat
say
with somebody,
sex on the
oh,
podcast,
you can say
okay?
sex. Okay, if you guys had sex, then you guys or anything of that nature,
Yeah.
anything that leads towards that, then it would be physical cheating.
Right. Like creating or having any type of connection with somebody else while you are committed to someone else, whether it be emotional, verbal, physical,
Hmm.
even psychological. If you're just thinking of doing something with that person, does that constitute as cheating for you?
No, no, I don't. I see. I don't think that is. I don't think thoughts are cheating because that's natural. You can't tell somebody, "Hey, stop thinking about being with somebody else." You're in a relationship. You're not dead. Like that. That's the way that I see it. And if you see, nakita mo si Ryan Gosling, alam nga naman may isipin mo, ako pa rin yung iisipin mo. I mean, I'm not gonna say that. I mean, that's unnatural for me to do. So I will say that if there is a physical act of it, if there is an emotional act where you feel like this person is filling a void in your life that your partner cannot fill, and that is what you're yearning for, that would be
Mm-hmm.
emotional cheating. Financial cheating, I don't care about that. See, this is something that I learned recently because something that I don't know if you know. Like I have a girlfriend now, so this is new to me. So
Yeah.
I like we were in a bar in New York one time, and she was like, oh, this guy's buying me a drink. I was like, yeah, go get the free drinks. Go get all the free drinks you can get. I'm fine. See, financial cheating is fine because it lightens the load for me. I don't have to buy that many drinks.
And she's coming home with you either way. Nagsayang lang si guy
Yes,
ng pera.
exactly.
So,
I mean,
okay.
if I wants to buy her a couple of drinks, let him buy her a couple of drinks. It's a couple of drinks off of my tab.
Okay. All right. But first of all, we're not just going to let this slide.
Uh-huh.
Happy that you are finally in a
Oh, thank
relationship
you.
after so long.
So long,
That's
yes.
great
I
for
saw that
you.
you
That's
got married, and I
wonderful.
was like, if Kara can do it, so can I.
The bar is so low.
Oh, hey, it was set. That's the important part. As long as it was set, right?
But yeah, okay, all right. So yeah, as long as okay, cheating for you is something that you act on. When you act on
Yes.
it, if it's just thoughts, it's It's fine. It's a
Oh,
given.
it's
Like,
fine.
you know.
That's fine.
What about
Human
liking
nature.
pictures? What
No,
about liking
I don't
pictures on
care.
Instagram?
See,
Okay.
okay, this is why this is perfect. This tangent of this is perfect for this podcast in particular. Because if you're worried about the likes and the views and who your partner is following, after you turn 30, you are not secure in your relationship because that means that you're not secure in yourself. And if you've reached this point and you are not secure in yourself yet, what are you doing in a relationship trying to find security in someone else? So I understand if you're 20 something and you are disappointed or you are irked at the thought of seeing this photo is liked by blah 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 blah. And you're like, but
Mhm.
naman is it like that I understand if you're 20. When you're 30 at this point, like I mean, I'm well into 30 now. I've turned a brand new leaf and I was the same way, but now it's just like, all right, whatever.
Beautifully said. Now that we are in our 30s, and it's true. Sana naman by this time you've matured enough to see or to at least see the difference, diba? Liking a
Yes.
photo, fine. I like photos of cute guys. My husband knows that. I
Mhm.
mean, he likes photos of, friends, girls, and I'm like, they're pretty too. Okay, I find them pretty. I get it.
Yes. Who would like
Yeah.
those pictures before he would?
I still like them today.
See, exactly. So there's nothing wrong with likes. I'm at this point, I don't see anything wrong with likes.
All right. Okay. Why do you think people cheat though? Let's go back. Okay, let's go back
Okay.
to your experience. Let's not just
Mhm.
talk about it like on the surface, like,
Mhm.
what we hear, what we know about it now that we're in our 30s, a decade after experiencing that. But why do you think you experienced that? Why do you think people cheat?
There are a lot of reasons. There
Mhm.
are so many reasons that we don't have enough time on this podcast to do it to cover each and every one of them. But I think that it boils down particularly to somebody's insecurity. Um, if that person's insecurity or the love language that they are searching for, and that's usually what stems from it, like your insecurity gives birth to the love language that you want to receive. That's always a way that I've looked at it. If you grew up and you didn't get the hugs or something like that from your parents, that's what you yearned for when you grew up. It was the love language that you were searching for. Or if you grew up and
Mhm.
it was, you didn't hear a good job from your parents or something like that, that was the love language that you were searching for. I'm not saying that this is universal, but that just feels like something that is very, very true with me and people that I'm very close with as well. As for reasons for cheating, it sometimes boils down to that. It's the yearning of the love language or the nurturing of the insecurity that the person had is not being given by their partner. And they don't sometimes they don't have the heart to really tell their partner these type of situations
Mhm.
that like, oh, I wish that you were more vocal with the way that you showed your love towards me. But that sentence right there is an extremely difficult sentence to have in your relationship. And because you don't say that, you don't have that conversation, you don't have that itch being given by your partner. It's not being scratched by your partner. So you look for it somewhere else where somebody who is willing to give you each and every way kind of love or lust and mask it in the way of love, will be able to scratch that and find you in a vulnerable situation because of those said insecurities.
Okay. My
Was that too much? I'm sorry.
No,
It's late
no, no.
night here.
It's not. No, I absolutely think that too. Honestly, now again, at years after the experience, I really think, and both the exes who cheated on me actually
Mhm.
apologized.
Yeah, I know.
They did years, one years later, and I really appreciated that. But really, now that I'm well into my 30s as well, I don't think cheaters don't come at me, okay, with this
No, no,
statement.
no,
But I
no.
don't think
Yeah, yeah,
cheaters.
no, no. It's great.
I
Well,
don't think
this is what it
cheaters
is.
are
It's
bad
discourse.
people.
No, no, no.
Yeah, they're not.
Absolutely.
They're not
I
bad people.
absolutely agree. I
There's just
absolutely agree.
people who, like what you said, have, for lack of a better term, a hole that needs to
Hmm.
be filled, that in truth will never be filled by anybody,
Yes.
whether it be the person that they find outside of the relationship or
Hmm.
the next one or the next one, until they fill it themselves,
Absolutely.
right?
I completely agree. And you can tell that that happens more when you're younger because you really have no idea that you are masking these holes with other people. And that's why you make those mistakes. When you're older, it doesn't happen as often, I would like to say, unless those insecurities get over for a very long time and you weren't able to, fill that void yourself. But I think that judging someone because of one mistake is not exactly the right way to do it. And even if for me, I didn't get that, I didn't get the sorries from my partners. I didn't get the sorries from my exes. Like later on, I had one of them eventually came around and apologized for it. But I never really had like a sit down and like, oh, this is what happened, and I'm so sorry, blah blah blah. That's why I'm so happy that you were able to have that. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't able to forgive them without it. Like I knew that, and I learned as I got older that I didn't need their apology for me to give them my forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're right. No, that's so true. You don't, and again, grateful that I got those apologies. I wasn't waiting for them. I definitely wasn't expecting them 5 years later, but you're right. And as long as you find it in you to heal yourself, then that's wonderful. That's even great that you've forgiven them, even without getting the
Have you
apology.
forgiven them?
Oh naman. I'm
Okay.
actually grateful for them. Strange ba marinig? Pero hindi kasi
No, no, not
and
strange at
and
all.
yeah, because honestly, if I didn't go through those horrible situations, I wouldn't have appreciated the kind of man that I married. Like that,
Absolutely.
oh my God, may tao palang, pwede naman pala. Like, I can get this amount of love without having to change myself, without having to try so hard,
Hmm.
for this person to love me. I'm
That's
gonna
good.
cry. The joke lang.
No, it's
Okay,
okay.
so
I mean, I mean that's what they are, right? I mean, the mistakes that you make in your 20s are the reasons why you're smiling in your 30s. Like that's really the case right there. That you really had to go through all of that, and
did
um,
I really have to? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, to some extent, we kind of did. Like I think that the rest of our lives, like the rest of the components of our lives, flourished because of how bad we were in that realm of our lives. And whether it was bad that other people were bad towards us, whether we sometimes were bad towards other people because of said trauma, it all made everything make sense now. And that's all that matters.
Everything makes sense now. I
Oh,
agree.
right.
But okay, so we were talking about why we think people cheat, right? And
Mhm.
we were so kind about it. Like, we said it so beautifully without
Yeah. I can get mad
antagonizing.
now. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
almost done with my drink, so I'm gonna start getting.
okay, okay. Because okay, so after this, so this whole issue with a Filipino artist, a couple of them actually who are married, and somebody announced on social media that their marriage just ended because the man cheated on her.
Mhm.
And of course, a lot of rumors because they didn't really give any details. They don't have to. But there were, social media, how it can get really dark really
Mhm.
fast, right? So, ang daming rumors, whether excuses essentially for the guy. Like there was someone who
Wow,
claims to be a
really?
close friend of the guy, yeah, who said,
Mm.
oh, he only did that because he didn't get, I'm gonna say it because it's all over the internet anyway, oh, because he didn't get sex from her.
Wow.
And he didn't actually emotionally cheat on her because he wasn't in a relationship with anybody else. He was just looking for it, like he was paying for it
Uh-huh.
because he couldn't
Oh
get it
my
in the
god.
relationship.
Oh my god.
What a horrible rumor, right? And that kind
Oh
of, and you
god.
see people reacting to it na parang, kaya naman pala. It's parang, no.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you feel about that?
Okay, so no, first of all, I want to ask you, what do you think is worse, physical or emotional cheating? Or is there a difference for you?
There's no difference for me,
It
really,
you
at
you
this
think that
point.
it's completely the same, physical and emotional cheating?
Because my top love languages are affirmation and physical touch.
Yes.
So both for me are,
Giving and receiving pareho.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Hmm.
parehong pareho.
Interesting.
So, equal siya for, di,
No, 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 no. When you look back at those that cheated on you, did you think like at some point na parang I would have rather had it that he was just in a relationship with that person and he didn't have sex with her? Like, did you ever think that, or did you think Sunny just had sex with her and he didn't even like her? Is that what is worse between those two? That he was falling in love with somebody else, or that he had sex with somebody else?
sana hindi na lang niya ginawa at
No,
all.
no, no, no,
Hindi
no,
ko
no.
maisipan ng gun to my head. Like, what?
Like, because like
Ah,
I for one understand like and I guess it might have been a conversation that I was having with myself in my head that
mm-hmm.
if I had to choose, it's easier for me to forgive somebody that cheated on me physically because that is something that I can't give.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give you something from I can't give you different sex, so to say.
Uh-huh,
Like
uh-huh.
the sex that I give you is the only sex that I have. Now, if you decided to leave me or decided to cheat on me because you wanted to be in a relationship with somebody else, that should be something that I should be able to give you. Like I should be able to do that for you. I should be able to fill in that void for you. And the fact that you would get that from somewhere else, that hurts me more. Because whether it is a tall guy, a short guy, a girl, or whatever, doesn't matter. I should be able to give you the only love that you want. And if you don't want that, then that means that there's something more, that there is a bigger problem, that I am not loving you the way that you want to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
Physical cheating, you can teach me if I was doing it wrong. You'd be like, no, put your leg up. And then I would be able to find a better way to do it. With emotional cheating, well, you can't tell the person like if that person doesn't reciprocate love the way that you would want it, it's just not going to work. And I think that that is one thing that me and you both misunderstood from when we were younger and we were cheated on.
Mm-hmm.
That, well, especially for me, like the way that I saw it was I felt that it was a personal attack towards me.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Yeah.
instead it was a personal act made by them. And
Mm-hmm.
when it's a physical cheating, it's more personal act. It's more of a personal act. Like you have to go and do that. So that's why I always believe emotional cheating is heavier than physical cheating. Both of them still do suck though. Yeah.
Hindi ko pa rin ma-attempt.
You
Either way,
really it's the
I
same.
cannot. I cannot now and
Yeah.
now answering as the Kara
As
now.
not as the Kara no, yeah. It's
But
the same.
maybe the Kara then. I
Mhm.
Well, it's funny, and I had just gone through a therapy session the other day, and I talked about this. Um, and I think I kept going back. At one point, yung kilala mo mga twice lang yun eh. But the one
Mm.
after that, I kept coming
Mhm.
back maybe 10 times at the
I
very
know.
least.
I
And
know.
I
You see it online.
and I think it was because at and through the therapy session, it was because I kept getting the high after, like, when he comes back to me. It was more
Mhm.
that. It was more the high of, oh, he kept choosing me after, even if he found somebody else's love or somebody else's whatever. He still kept coming back to me, and that was the high that I stuck around for.
Because was it because he gave you the words of affirmation that you were looking for? Did you like use those episodes as a way to extract words of affirmation from him?
Definitely. And better sex, because it improved. I
Those
don't
are
know,
the
for
two.
some, right?
Makeup sex
Exactly.
is always better.
Exactly. Thank God we're over that now. But okay. Pero wala eh. Again, it's and we need to keep saying this to the person who has been cheated on, that it is not your fault.
No, it's
It
really
is
not.
never your fault.
I don't want to say never. I don't want to say never. I don't want to say never. Okay. I don't want to say never. I don't want to say never
Okay.
because but I will say that the other person is wrong. Like for cheating, absolutely, absolutely wrong. But I know a lot of friends that cheated on their boyfriends emotionally because their boyfriends weren't giving them any emotions at all. Like they used them in that kind of relationship to take advantage of their companionship, but it was not reciprocated. I I could not blame my friend for
Mm-hmm.
seeking attention elsewhere. They eventually did break up, and it was because it wasn't because of the cheating. It was more because of the lack of attention. But I can't solely blame the cheatee
Sir.
cheater. I can't solely
Uh-huh.
blame the cheater for everything because there's two people in a relationship. If
Right.
it's irresponsible for us to specifically blame it on one person, the entirety of it all. Not unless it's like, you know, a lot. There are reasons that it would, but I can't say all reasons would make the cheater the one at fault entirely.
I don't agree. Joke lang.
Oh, really?
No, but
It's totally fine. It's totally fine to disagree.
no, it's I think okay. If she probably said, if she told her partner that these were her concerns and
Mhm.
still he did nothing about it,
Yeah.
still doesn't excuse the cheating, but I would say it's both their fault.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
if she
Absolutely.
never said it, and if it was never brought up, and she, the person automatically goes to, oh, relieving whatever the pain is outside of the relationship, then I would say it's completely their fault.
Hmm.
Does
Oh,
that
well,
make
yeah. I
sense?
mean, like I said, there are occasions when it can happen, and
Yeah.
whoever is the cheater is majority at fault because it's not like anyone tripped and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a penis. And that doesn't happen. But you can't just solely say that the entirety of the ones at fault was one person when there's only two people in the relationship. There's
Right. Okay,
supposed
I
to
have
be
a
only two
follow-up
people.
question to that. Is
Yeah.
cheating, do you think it can be, so now that you're in a relationship, right?
Hmm.
Can it be avoided? Like, I'm sure you completely trust each other, and I can say I yes, completely trust my husband, but um would you say that it can be, I'll give you an example. For example,
Okay.
if you're in a relationship, you would most likely avoid going out alone with your guy friends and drinking around girls. Is that something you would avoid because you are in a happy relationship, or it doesn't matter?
You know me, I don't really like drinking in bars with random girls anyway. With my boys drinking
That
around with girls draped around us. That's not really been my thing. And my friends, we're just sitting around playing PlayStation at home anyway. But yes, I do know what you're going for here. I do understand the question of, if you are in a relationship, does that mean that you're not supposed to go out with your boys anymore? That is obviously a concern that a lot of girls have. It's like, of course, if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut. Like you put yourself in
Mhm.
the line of fire, you're gonna get shot. Um, so I think that you can avoid it, of course. Like for instance, for me, I I live in Connecticut. There are probably about I've only seen one other Filipino here. When I just moved here, before I got into a relationship, I was on Bumble for like 6 months or like 5 months, something like that, or whatever. Even before I came here and all that, um, and I didn't have any matches. Like I didn't have any match at all. Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, all of it, no matches. So that was when I got into a relationship. I was like, wow, like I'm obviously avoiding all chances of cheating because there's no way that I'm even going to be able to cheat with anyone here anyway. So yes, there are ways to avoid cheating in this situation like mine, but in reality, yes, there are ways to avoid cheating. But I don't think that you should sacrifice who you are, the entirety of who you are, for the ambition of who you want to be with your partner. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Okay.
I get that. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that a little bit more in the following questions. Okay, my next question is: do you think you can truly love someone and still cheat on them?
Yes. I was I was loved by my ex-girlfriends when they cheated on me. I know for a fact that they loved me
You
very
never
much.
questioned it when they
Never
cheated
questioned.
on you.
No, never questioned. Even when they cheated on me, even when they cheated on me again, it was never no. At the time, I probably did. At the time, of course, when I
Mhm.
was younger, I didn't know that there was a way to separate those two different emotions and actions from emotions, and the way that the brain works and works, and your genitals work and all your hormones and all that kind of stuff. Um, Now I know. When I was younger, I didn't. And if you can't step back from being cheated on and examine it into its different parts as to how that whole thing came together, that's where you're going to have a problem in accepting what happened to you. If you look at it as a whole, if you look at it as I was cheated on, then the things that come out of that is this person that hates me because this person wouldn't do that if this person loved me. And if this person
Or
hates me,
respected me.
right? There's nanganganak lang yung idea na yun. So
Mm-mm.
I was able to, especially when I forgave my exes, even like I was saying, even without them saying sorry, that was a big part of it. I forgave them for the action of it. I didn't hold them towards the preconceived notions that I had of being cheated on as a reason. It was more of, I didn't forgive them for not loving me. I forgave them for having a lapse in judgment. I forgave them for
Hurting
making
you.
a mistake and hurting me. It wasn't. I didn't say I forgive you for not loving me. No, it
Mm-hmm.
became I forgive you for just looking at the situation and saying I forgive you for having sex with that guy. I forgive you for making that mistake of sleeping with that guy or texting with that guy or whatever it was. And when I did that, that's when I started to realize that it wasn't because they didn't love me. And I kind of projected that on my future relationships where it was I'm not worthy of anyone's love, because if I'm worthy of someone's love, they wouldn't have cheated on me. So I discredited myself because of that. So when I accepted all of that, and when my therapist is like, "No, Aaron, yada yada yada," and then we had those conversations, and I was able to work through all those kind of things. That's how I was able to mature myself and disconnect the action from the person that committed the action as well.
It took a lot of listening to you now. It probably took a lot of healing for you to get there, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's it's healing not only of yourself, but it's also healing of your perception of the world, perception of how and your the way you think the world perceives you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's the bigger part of the healing process. It's yes, the wound will heal, but the scar is still there. So how do you perceive that scar? Is that scar a badge of honor, where it's like, oh, I got this scar, and I was like, for instance, I was skateboarding and I scratched my arm and all that kind of stuff. You tell it with that kind of joy, or do you look at it as a sign of weakness, where it's like, oh, I got cut there and I was bleeding, and there's different ways of telling the same story, and it just depends
Right.
on which level of maturity that you have on the situation.
It's also like you were saying a while ago, right? It must have been something that you needed to go through.
Mhm.
And I think that's very telling of, self-discovery as well. Because now that you've gone through that journey, you are in your 30s and you've done so much to get to know yourself better. It was probably also because of how you perceived yourself then that you attracted to and got attracted to these type of people, the people who would cheat on you, the people who would
Yeah.
hurt you. You also needed to work on that part of yourself that was probably yearning whatever it is that you saw in them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would kind of agree that it was the same with you. I
Yeah.
naturally looked for girls and partners that I guess I felt like were what I needed in my life. That
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's what I needed. I don't want to describe who they are because that's unfair for anyone that's listening right now. But
Yeah.
I was looking for that archetype of person, that build of a human being. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because when I look at my partner now, it has complete stark difference of what I used to do. Complete stark difference.
Exactly.
The things that I was searching for so much in my partners before that ended up cheating on me are not necessarily things that attracted me to my partner now. And when I look at how I made myself go through so many different types of situations, it was just like, yeah, that's a lot of growth on my part to be able to get that far.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah,
That
right.
is so true. You attract that kind of energy. I guess the same
Mm-hmm.
kind of energy that you emit, you will also attract.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be the energy that you need in whatever season of your life you are in, right? Okay, so eto na. How does it really feel um to be cheated on? Balikan lang natin ng onte.